People, we are live. This is gonna be our first video, but if you've been following the series, I've been doing lives on my personal Instagram account. So I've been graduating, and this is actually the 10th episode. It's been a while. I've not been disciplined enough, but I never wanted to follow the kind of a tight grid of a timeline. So it's all on the timelines and schedules of interesting people. And today we have Kasturi joining us. So trying to turn down the music and invite her to the call. Okay, she is a very interesting person. Lived her most of her life 30,000 feet above the ground. We're gonna see how. All right, so let's invite her. Alrighty. Hey there. How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, Shubha Vijaya.
Shubho Vijaya. I think you're, I don't know, I think it's hanging, so we need to wait for a bit.
Is it? Is it my side or is it your?
I mean, it shows on your side, but could be, I mean, yeah. Oh, no, back again.
Yeah, cause I see you perfectly. No worry. This is new for you, Instagram Live.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been
All
live
right.
on Instagram, and so I was
Yeah.
listening to you, and I mean, it was a very beautiful introduction. You know, I've never been introduced like that before. So yeah, that's a first, and first is always special. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to having this chat
Yeah,
with you because I'm always in the lookout of for interesting profiles and people who are different than than what I do, and you probably couldn't be more different than my kind of people who are at the desk at the same time zone,
wow.
logging in and logging out. Okay, haven't moved an inch. You know, you couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
But speaking of introductions, you get an introduction as well. You know, our flight crew today is da da da, and they can speak Hindi, English, Marathi, Bengali, Arabic. You get an introduction.
Yeah, but that's a different one. But what you've done is very nice and beautiful, and that's what I said, that it's haven't been done before. So that's special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually good with words. So when I'm writing, I find the words flowing in. But
Yeah.
when I'm speaking, and not just if we are face to face, we won't have this problem. But especially with the camera on you, even I get like tongue tied and
That's
don't know
so
how to get
true.
it out.
Yeah.
All right, we see your friends joining. That's so cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, I didn't even notice down there. See, I'm so not used to this Instagram live. But then again, yeah, I see my friends joining. I've known them for like
This is
decades.
very cool.
There's
Wow, tell
Martha,
me
and
more.
then yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. So I was,
All right, so
yeah. Please tell me.
yeah, no, I really don't have any plans for this live. The idea is to get you enough to start speaking, and I'll absorb all your interesting stories, and maybe play around with this airplane.
Wow, where did you get that from?
It's from a competitor airline.
It's I can't read it because it's hanging. Air Canada. Now I can read it here.
Yes,
Nice. Yeah.
yes. By the way, would you be able to guess the model?
I can't see the plane properly at all because I mean, because of the video, it's kind of.
No, you can't guess the model? Okay. All
Yeah,
right. No worries.
it's just that somehow I managed to read the Air Canada. Yeah.
It's
Just
not
like
the
Boeing
747.
I don't know.
You got it.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you say Boeing
Because
triple
it just
seven?
moved once because it's frozen from my side. That's why I couldn't really have a look for the longest, and then you just moved it, and then I happened to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say 777?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I didn't know. I didn't know. I hacked. It has it printed somewhere below. B777.
Mm, yeah. So I was like
So
looking at the list of people that have joined before on the on Daydreams podcast, before as in before me,
yeah.
and I just went ahead and looked at their profiles, and I found that they're like, I mean, I it it's great that you thought that I fit into the list, but then again,
Of course.
there's such experienced individuals and personalities that I'm really happy to be sharing this list with them. Is all I can say.
Yeah. Well, you're adding another dimension to the list which has never been covered. And in your experience, in your professional life, you would have welcomed all of these people, helped them find them their comfort on board.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this daydreams.podcast, there are a couple of other daydreams podcast accounts. And it's always the thing, like when you start something, how you have to think the other way. First, you have to see if there's already a domain registered in that name. Okay.
Right.
And I got no plans of a domain yet, at least an Instagram account. So you have to start because this happens on Insta. So and everything is taken. Everything you come up with an idea, and even if it has zero posts or zero followers, there would be an Instagram account.
Right.
So yeah, so I have to introduce that daydreams dot podcast, and the idea is just talk about our daydreams, because somewhere, and you might agree, those daydreams crystallize right later on, and they form beautiful structures, beautiful shapes,
Yeah.
and your life takes a different course. Maybe it all starts when we don't have a clear idea. We are just following, having these repetitive visualizations or repetitive thoughts about something which we like, and it has its interesting ways of manifesting itself.
So I think it's buffering
And you
again.
had to
So
be my first.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, you had to be my first guest because there isn't a more direct connection. When you think about dreaming, you automatically look up, don't you, like that, and you have an airplane. At this lockdown got so hard that
I know.
me and Isha go to our terrace every day. Oh, one thing for this lockdown, we've never seen so much open skies in our life in Kolkata ever. We've been going up to the terrace and we've been having some of the most. Yeah, so I was having this strange visualizations. I would just look up, stare up like a kid at all the passing airlines, all the like a kid, literally. I mean, it's that feeling of wanting to break free, literally,
Mm.
and of not traveling in general, being stuck to one place. We none of us are used to. Uh, How's it been for you? Because I mean, it's very stark for you. You're not used to staying put in one place at all.
Yeah. I mean, initially, I think. I mean, for me and let's say my friends and colleagues who belong to the same profession, for us, it was like we kind of caught up on some sleep. We kind of caught up on some
Yeah.
much needed rest that like our bodies really needed to go through, and then that happened. And after that, once we were done with the sleeping and the resting and the eating on time kind of a thing, And then it was all, I mean, how much web series can you watch? How much Unos and Ludos and all of that you can play? And then it obviously certainly got very, very suffocating, you know, at some point, because here the lifestyle is different. Like you have an open terrace, you could, even if it's summers, in the evening you could go out to your balcony or on the terrace. Like I was stuck, I mean, mostly during lockdown, I was stuck in Dubai. So it was summers in Dubai, and you can imagine how hot it gets. So even if you want to just go out for a walk and come back, like just around the area, I mean, that wasn't allowed even.
You may never come
Yeah,
back.
when it was a proper lockdown, that wasn't allowed. I was in an
Yeah.
apartment on the 18th floor where you're not allowed to go on the terrace because it is, I mean, the access is like blocked off. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really, and even if it was allowed, there was still no point of going to the terrace or going to the balcony because it was just so hot. And it was like hot air in the
Yeah.
evening. So
Yeah.
it started getting very suffocating. But then, you know, that's the thing about it. You find out your way in every situation and you deal with it without complaining. When you look around and you see people sick, people suffering, ambulances coming
Yes.
twice a day to pick up people who's got corona, maybe from the flights or from the time that they have gone out, from different people. You're like, at least, you know, I do not have the disease. I have food and water. I have a comfortable home. I have clean bed. I have a clean toilet, and that's about it. You just thank your stars, count your blessings, and live the way you should live. And the rest of the world is living. I mean, kind of our living
Yeah.
standards had come down. Like for everyone, it was like one standard. You do not get to go out. It doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, how much money you have.
Yeah.
You do not have the means to spend that money. You just have to live a very simple life, whether you like it or not. So yeah, many learnings, of course, but then again, as long as you're safe and sound, serves the purpose.
Yeah. Because you are actually, you were a frontline worker, and the first wave, you pretty much saw it firsthand. I mean, thankfully, you didn't have to go through the, you know, the wave didn't hit you in the face, but it was all happening. I mean,
Yeah, it was very much
um,
around. Yeah.
yeah, and airlines and enclosed spaces, being in that, and in long haul flights, and from people from all over it was a pretty dangerous development. And thank God, for whatever reason, you had to be grounded. It's tough, but it was coming. Uh, and we are still, I mean, it's still developing knowledge. We still don't know what causes the contagion, what causes somebody else contracting the disease,
Yeah.
what causes contamination. But you guys were probably one of the highest risk zone people that come to mind.
Yeah, true. I mean, to an extent that initially when Corona had broken out, and I mean, it came to India much later, right? It only came to India
Yeah.
about March, April, but it was ongoing from, I think, 2019, late November or around December, if I'm not wrong.
December. Yeah. Yeah.
But that was the time it had actually broken out in China, and we were still flying in and out of China. I mean, every airline was flying in and out of China. And then Italy got massively affected, Spain got massively affected, and I mean, the airlines were taking a decision on providing PPEs and all that, but it was all very new for them. You know, they to sit down and change the uniform and take a call of protection, this that, all these while we were only looking at doctors wearing a PPE. Now every second person who's at risk needs to be given a PPE, and during this decision we were doing full flights without a PPE. So initially we did not even have a protection. It was only on the day when, you know, the entire world was shutting down. I still remember I was on a layover, and it was a week-long layover. First we went from Dubai to this place, Barcelona, and then we stayed over in Barcelona, and then we went from Barcelona to Mexico, and then we had to come back to Barcelona. I mean, stay at Mexico, come back to Barcelona, and then come back to Dubai. But then when like the first trip that we made from Dubai to Barcelona, we actually got the reality of the situation. I mean, I have never seen Barcelona deserted, like no soul on the road, no traffic, only the traffic lights like a coming on and off, but there's actually no traffic to pass the traffic lights because they had deployed police and army on the road. I mean, they don't, yeah, they don't force you for anything, but if they see you just walking around and stuff, they do ask you like, where are you heading to? What's your purpose? And blah blah blah, and they send you back to the hotel. Like I mean, so it just kind of broke out massively in Spain when we landed. I mean, they did not even know what like how to handle it because it was just doubling up by the hour.
Yeah.
And so now the hotel kitchen had shut down and we had no food and they couldn't take the risk of keeping the kitchen open. There were no like a hot kettle for tea and coffee. I mean, you need food to survive, right? So bang opposite on the road there was a mall. The mall was shut down and they had barricaded the way out and you know, single zoned it only to the supermarket inside the mall. So you could walk up there, grab your belongings and come back, but people were like hoarding because no one I mean, these are the Spanish people, the locals. I mean, not really Spanish, whoever stayed in Barcelona. I mean, I only needed stuff for like, let's say 3 meals a day and some bottles of water and some instant coffees and stuff like that. But then I thought, what's the point of getting instant coffees when you do not have a hot kettle for hot water and the kitchen is closed? So we and no proper food. Like I still remember I just got some fruits and some raw salads and some biscuits just to munch. And our initial stay was for 2 days before we go to Mexico, because from Barcelona to Mexico it was considered like a long haul flight, you know, so we needed more rest in Barcelona. But it was very tough to stay in Barcelona for 2 days, and I was done because the hotel was dark. Like there was no people there. The staff only stayed because we were there, because we were the only ones there. They did not have an option. Otherwise, they would be more than happy to go back home, right? In such a situation. The hotel was like, it was like a pin drop silence. It was scary. And I could only open the window slightly because obviously it was centrally air conditioned. And only around 8 o'clock in the evening, they would all come out to their windows and balconies to, you know, to make some noise and light some torches to cheer up the doctors and the frontliners and all of that. But all these things are great. But when you look at the ground reality, it was very scary because then again, we as a team had to go from there to Mexico and then come back and then to Dubai. And you don't know what's going on back home in India for me and to various parts of the world for others, because Dubai is again not home. And when you've not seen something so severe in life, you always tend to think, okay, you know, my parents are old, my family's back there, and you know, what is going on actually? Like, how are they doing it if I can't manage it by myself? So yeah, and then we did go to Mexico. We were thinking probably it's gonna close down the sector or something, but we did go to Mexico. And then we stayed in Mexico for a day. But when we were coming back, that was the day, I think it was around, I can't remember, 19th of March or the 28th of March. I can't really remember. So it was like we were supposed to stay in Barcelona, but then we were told that, you know what, that's it. You land in Barcelona and you take off straight for Dubai, because Spain borders are closing down. And then I have to open my phone and obviously all other colleagues of mine, and then there were like emails coming in back to back, like how they were taking like 9-10 sectors together and closing it down, and it was pretty crazy. And so yeah, it was like a 23 hours long duty day from Mexico to Barcelona and Barcelona to Dubai. And then finally, when we arrived in Dubai, we were like 23 hours on duty. And then we went home.
No layover. Yeah,
No
straight to
layover. But
Barcelona.
then again,
Yeah.
we did not operate. We were not legal to operate from Barcelona to Dubai. So the set which was stuck in Barcelona, they had to get back to Dubai as well. So basically,
Mhm.
I think about close to 50 cabin crew and 15 flight decks were evacuated on that flight from Spain to Dubai. Now, this was only about Spain, but this was going on all around the world, where people were stuck and they
Yeah.
had to be evacuated. I mean, it was very bad. I could see passengers at the ticket counter literally crying and asking for a place in the plane, because they were like, if we get stuck, we don't even know, we do not belong to this country, and we don't know when we're going to go back, we don't know how we're going to survive. So it was a tough deal to be a part of
Yeah.
all that firsthand. So yeah.
We were, I was at that time, March, when the virus was catching up. I was hosting a friend of mine from New Zealand, and she was on a recurring visa, which needed to be renewed every 3 months. So you had to get out of the country, renew, stamp, and get back.
Yeah.
So we were rushing to the consulate, and we were rushing to the visa office here, and nobody had answers, right? So what do the new clauses look like? Okay, do we still have to get out because the flights were getting shut? At some point, the flights out were getting stuck, so it's a risk you can get out of the country because she wanted to stay on. You can't get back. Do you have to at all do that? Then the incoming flights got stuck, so nobody was having any kind of answers. It was happening so fast, like by the day, you literally didn't have any reaction time.
Yeah.
So, wow. So the last few flights were all evac of crew.
Passengers.
And then
This was because it was suddenly, I mean, it was a decision that all the borders will down, and no one could afford to get stuck anywhere. But then again, we did not, I think, fly at all for a month or so. Or no, 15, 20 days, if I'm not wrong. And then eventually the evacuation operation started, and that's when, and these were like very few flights. So eventually,
yeah,
when we got only about like a one, because the strength was so big and the flights are all. So yeah, there were like few of us who sat. I can't remember, probably for 3-4 months at a stretch.
yeah. So what was the discussions going on? And I know the uncertainties. So what were you let know officially, or was it like happening all around you and you kind of added up the situation?
Yeah.
And you took a call. All right. Yeah. And it's across the industry, right? In the IT world, I also work for the travel and hospitality industry, and it's kind of the same story everywhere. Anyway, that's enough of the turbulent part of the ride.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's if we can unfasten our seatbelts a little bit, move around. So, since this podcast is about daydreaming, I would very much like to revisit, your daydreams growing up or your imaginations, and let's try to reconstruct if some of that kind of led to your choices and how you ended up where you are in your career.
So, I mean, I don't know. To begin with, honestly, I never dreamt of working in a plane or joining an airline. I mean, that was never the dream. It was a by chance thing that had happened in my life. But then, I mean, I don't know if you can call it a dream, but I remember when I was really young. If you remember, we had these calendars, which would come every New Year's, and let's say a January would have a picture of a scenery like a cold place. And then February, yes, and slowly when you hit the summer months, it'll be like a more summery and spring and this, that. I I used to look at those photos every year. I would wait for January to come so that we get new calendars in the house. And I would select my favorite scenery and I'll be like, okay, I want to go here, you know? And I had done that for a long time and I used to save those calendars. I don't know where are they now
Yeah.
because I used to just save them very randomly. Like, you know, you don't really save things now. It's all about phone and gadgets and this, that. So you save
Yeah.
things as files. But back then I would just keep it, let's say, somewhere on my table or, you know, under my chair or somewhere. Okay, you know, I like this and I would like to travel to this place. And like with a lot of innocence, I would never probably think in my head that, you know, you can actually because back then thinking, I mean, like the thought process was also very different. You would not think
Hmm.
of traveling so like, you know, you become this or that, and then, you know, you do your BA, BSc, MSc, and all of that. But then obviously, so since everyone used to think like that, I used to think like that as well. But then those sceneries had always been in my mind, and I don't know. And then again, so after that, it all happened. I think very often I would show it to my parents and stuff. And one fine day, someone had told my father so how to go about this, like, you know, about these airline career and stuff like that. And that's how it had come to me. Like, I never really had planned anything up front to join an airline.
Very much sounds like matchmaking.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But then again, I remember this, like, there's this vivid memory that on one of my birthdays, you know, I was presented a globe. You know, back in the days, we would get globes and atlases as
Yeah.
birthday
Yes.
presents. So I was like
Yes.
swirling, like, you know, there was no end, and it stopped, and it stopped somewhere, and my father was around, and I pointed like blindly, not even knowing where I was pointing and what was the place, and it looked pretty far from India. So I pointed and I asked my father, like, where is this place? So he's like, New Zealand. So I'm like, New Zealand.
Hmm.
So, and I had no idea about New Zealand back then. I was really, really small. So he's like, oh, so would you like to go? I said, yeah, you know, with a lot of excitement. And he's like, but then, you know, it's very, very far from where we live. And you need to work really hard. And how father is talking, you need to study hard and blah, blah. And that's when you know, if you aspire something, you should do. But then do keep in mind that you have to do very well in life to go to New Zealand. And now it's so easy to go. But then back then it was obviously like, you know, a task. So it just so happened that in Emirates, when I got my first roster, the very first layover that reflected was Auckland, which is in New Zealand, of course. So there, like,
That's amazing.
yeah, it's magical how things work out for you, and you don't think
Yeah.
about them, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, I would never think like 2 decades ago that I would just point out at something and that'll turn out to be my first layover at some other part of the world I'll be working. And yeah, I mean, they say thoughts become things, but I don't know. I don't, like, I wasn't really invested on the proverb, but yeah, here it is.
We should definitely do geography and map pointing more in schools. Ask kids to just point out
Yeah,
random
you do
places.
that to your daughter, you know, just like just swirl the whole
Yeah.
globe and we like point and yeah, I'm sure. But then things are much more
Yes.
easier now, and then I'm sure
Yeah.
kids these days will see the world, enjoy every part of it, learn a lot from it, because it's not only about going around and seeing places, right? It's a lot about education. So
Yeah.
I mean, self-education, let's just say, not a degree education, but yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. You were very fortunate to have that exposure back home, where Isha, she would adopt a certain kind of English when she's talking to her friends from New Zealand, and then adopt a certain kind of Bangla when she's talking to Aparna's children from rural India.
Yeah.
Right, when she would come visit us every Pujo, this time it couldn't happen.
Mm.
She would adopt her Bengali, which is not the Kolkata Bengali, to make them feel at home. So that diversity, it's
Yeah.
extremely good to observe how kids adjust, shift their gears, and do that thing. So, you were already talking about any picture that you remember, and this is a very feels on your skin kind of experience. Any
So I didn't get you because your voice kind of cracked.
Yeah, no, any picture from those calendars that you remember that the first time you actually seen that you've been to?
I can't understand.
Okay, let me try that again. No, I guess
Yeah,
let's try.
because a lot, because if you remember, the calendars would have very generic photos. It never said like, let's say, Switzerland or Thailand's beaches. It would have very generic photos of like winter months would be like a straightforward
Snow
snow
and
peaks,
yeah,
and then when it's getting into fall, it would have like before that. For let's say for fall, it would have like dried leaves, and then for summers
yeah,
you would have
yes,
sunny beaches. So yes, and so I want basically probably from the calendar I never picked up where I want to go. It was more like now when I backtrack and think about it, it's more like yeah, I think it'll be nice to see these peaks, and then it'll be nice to go and like just to play with water on the sunny beaches and stuff like that, or to just like walk around those tulip fields and simple things like that. And as a kid you think simple. You don't really like
yeah,
complicate thinking where will it be and all that. It was only when I got that globe, I kind of probably because I think that's the reason why people do globes and stuff like world
yeah,
map, because before that you're only learning about things that you hear from people. But when your teacher or your parents teach, like puts a globe in front of you and points out at things, and then you kind of have like a vision, like you have a vision that how far this thing is, like not exactly how
mm,
far, but it looks like it's pretty far. And okay, on the opposite side to India, it's like the Americas. And the saying when we were growing, because my granny used to always say, like, you want to go to America, you keep digging the land and you dig.
yes, yes, yes.
And for the longest I took it very seriously. That's the funny part. I only realized that that's not possible, and when I got
It was your own Santa Claus,
yeah,
your favorite Santa Claus you carried around. Yeah, well, fair enough. If these things work.
yeah, it does. See, there's always a reason.
Yeah, and tell me about some of the because what do you guys do on the long flights? I guess it's different from just the regular passenger. You don't even know how many movies can you watch. So I remember for one of the longer flights, you would probably walk all the way behind and want to hang around with people, whoever is doing their duties. So if it were you, I would just hang around. If you're chatty enough, then you get some bonus handouts, maybe bonus drink, and just have a chat. And it's always very meet some interesting people who are night owls, or the time zone is not matching, and they're just not feeling sleepy, and you catch up with interesting people.
Mm.
Um, that's way back in what's that the tail part of right the airline all the way back. That's That's how you would
alley.
just have a stretch, yeah, yeah, in the alley and get back. And what do you guys do for the longer flights when everybody's sleeping?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of work at the back end that happens. Along with that, it now depends on the flight as well, and on how busy or how peaceful it has been, and accordingly you decide whether you have some personal time to sit down or you just work. Like there have been flights where we worked like for, I mean, if the flight is like for 14 hours long or 16 hours long, you do work that
Mm.
long. Only the time you're
Yeah,
on a break, because break is legal here. Otherwise, no human being is designed in a way where you could be mentally and physically fit and give you 100% if, God forbid, a situation arise without a break for like 16 hours.
yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, I was just thinking 8 hour stretches at the most. Yeah. Yeah.
So that break is like a legality, and you have to go rest. So, and you
Yeah.
do generally try to get some sleep. Like you basically before a long flight, you plan your sleep. Your breaks are pre-designated. They, like, you receive emails before your flights, and that's when it's decided what breaks are will you be put on, and then that happens before a day. So on the given day, you kind of plan. You have to do a bit of planning and programming. There are days it works. There are days your body behaves the other way, and then it
Mm.
refuses to cooperate with what you want to do, and your plan doesn't go as per what you had decided. So yeah, I mean, I used to try to get some sleep before if I was on the second break, and if I was on the first, then I would wake up a bit early and get tired and then go do my work and then pass out on my first break. So, but after the break, also, like, on long flights, there are several services time to time that you do. So there's a lot of preparation you do. There's a lot of handwork that you do, handover, I mean, that you do. There are people coming in, going out of their breaks and schedules. Shifts are continuously changing. There's a lot of back end management that you need to do. People fall sick massively on long flights. You have medical
Mm.
emergencies on some flights. If you're unlucky, you have like back to back medical emergencies, and then like almost every
Medical emergency.
and there are way too
What's
many people. You need to keep an eye on the cockpit and the flight crew there, because there again they need to be fit and fine because they're doing a very important job out there. So
Yeah.
yeah, but then again, we used to work like in teams of. It depends on the plane, but let's say on the biggest like Airbus 380, it would be 26, close to 30 with the flight deck and all of that. Now it's even less now with this situation. They have reduced the crew, but I think when I joined, it was like that. So you see, it's a huge group. You don't even remember the names because you're kind of meeting them for the first time. But it's like
Yes.
massive teamwork that goes behind that. Like a massive teamwork, being a part of a team which has 30 odd people, and you've seen none
Yeah.
before, you've met none before. You all are first timers, knowing and working with one another. There's a huge amount of cooperation that needs to go on. There are procedures in place, and it's only right to stick to procedures, mostly, let's say. Um, yeah, and then there are situations as well when you take your own call. I mean, that's always there, right? So,
What's the kind of the weirdest situation you've had to handle firsthand,
weirdest, like
or things not going according to plan?
many. I mean, many as in not many, but yeah, it looks many because you you don't want a single weird situation, right? And then
Yeah.
none when it becomes one or two, it feels like many. But I don't know. I can't think of. I'm sure I've had, but I remember this situation when yeah, I mean it's pretty sad as well. We were on this flight, and this customer I think he was undergoing some treatment, and he was given antidepressants and
Uh,
like a pretty high dose of antidepressants, and it wasn't known to us. And obviously, he thought he could manage. Ideally, it's good for such customers to have like a companion with them. It's always nice to have someone right, on long flights. So he was all good and fine throughout the flight. It's only before we were about to land into Dubai that he started acting weird, and he kind of got very aggressive because antidepressants
oh.
can have that effect on you. Like before you know it, you're in a different world. And then he started feeling very claustrophobic, and he like kind of ran towards the door and jumped on the door and tried to open the door. And yeah, and then it was all very, I mean, obviously the door won't open, but that point in time we were kind of descending. So descending means you'd slowly start releasing the pressure. So that's not the time to act funny. He could have done that mid-flight, then we would have managed. But then, even then we managed. So somebody was coming, like, on the 380s you have the upper deck, and somebody was coming down from the upper deck, and that girl spotted him. So what to do now? You can't, like, it's very difficult physically to stop like a full-grown man and who's big in posture and all of that. So she just blindly jumped on him, thinking that she could do something. And then another guy saw both of them, and then he went and he jumped on them. It was weird, hilarious, very serious, like all together at the same time. And yeah,
Yeah.
we took him off, but then the sad part was, then the authorities get involved. There's a lot of legalities. The security gets involved. So there was like security, police, blah blah blah, and this man, I mean, in jobs like these, you have to abide by the law. So you can't be like
Yeah.
nice and understand.
Right.
Be like, what, he was on antidepressants and blah blah. That is for them. They'll say it is for us to decide now. You're out of the question. But our work only is still, everything is safe and sound. So we all together felt really bad for this guy. But then again, he was endangering the life of so many.
Yeah, he was a threat.
Things like this happen. It happens everywhere. It's extremely sad. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've seen things like that in movies, and to have it happen in front of you, you need to be. Some bit of training definitely goes in there.
Yeah, and then,
I was going.
I mean, the presence of mind and the reflex, and
Yes.
you actually. Yeah. So the good part about working in a big plane is like there are so many of you. If you freeze at a given situation, there will always be someone who would like tap your shoulder, bring you back, and act till the time you come back. So that's the fun as well.
Yeah. And I'm just keeping an eye on the watch because Instagram cuts us off exactly at 60 minutes. So there are so many things I'd like to go with you. Interesting places, your favorite destination. Why don't we start with that? You've traveled to so many places. What's one place you'd like to go back again and again?
Like, yeah, that way. I mean, it's very hard to say, what's your favorite destination, because, I mean, I don't want to sound like that, but the fact of the matter is, when you've traveled so much, I don't know how it is possible. You only like, okay, this is my top favorite. Like, there are so many things hidden in so many different parts of the world and in small little lanes, like the food, the culture.
Okay, top three.
It's
top three.
Top three. I probably I'll still not be able to say, because I'm really bad with bests. I've never had best friends. I've never had best destination. I've never had like best outfit. But I don't know. I just believe that every place that you like first of all, you need to like a place and then feel a part of it. Like has something very unique to offer that probably doesn't match with another place that you like very much. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just need to pick up the bests there from one particular place.
Yeah.
And then and then your whole experience is like an amalgamation of the bests. I don't know how to put that, but yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. If you're not picking a best, let me pick one for you, which happens to be my best, even having ever been there. I definitely want you to pick up your Mount Everest trip.
No, I mean,
You know how that
camp,
is. Yeah.
right? I mean, Mount Everest is like far-fetched, but yeah.
It's wild. It's wild, and you just did it. It's now done.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a
Been there.
friend of mine, on Instagram. I met him there. He was on the expedition, actually. I was only going till base camp, but he's done
Ooh.
Mount Everest. Like he's climbed Mount Everest before. His name is Ratnesh. He was here, but now he's gone, I believe. And I only went on the
Christ.
trip. I was very low on energy one day. Not exactly sick, but about because your oxygen level kind of
Yeah.
fluctuates so much. Like some of the days you're very high on your spirit and you're very high on energy, and then in next 2 hours you're like dying. You don't know what just happened to you. So
Hmm.
in one of these tea houses, on one such day, I wish he was here. He left the conversation, but anyway. I was dying, sipping my electrol, like full 1 liter of electrol water just to survive that night. He was doing bhangra in front of me in that altitude. Because you see, they have that kind of stamina. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
my plan was only to reach the base camp, but his plan was to summit Mount Everest. So,
Yes, yes, yes.
but Everest again is a lot like Emirates, if I may say so, because only
Like Emirates.
comfort and all these worldly comfort and extravaganza, all that's probably missing. It's a very tough life there. It's a very tough ride, if I may say. Ride as in like even the plane ride from Lukla
Yeah,
to
yeah,
I mean to say, a lot
yeah.
of people are scared of that because it is very scary. Like imagine if
No, it's just that much of a runway. Yeah.
yeah, it is in fact and then we had bad weather as well to top it off. So I
Oh,
was like, oh my God,
yeah,
I've never been in such a plane ride before. But then and it was like there's a long story behind how it all happened. So I used to again watch a lot of documentaries on Everest without even
Oh my God. Yeah. Same pinch. Yeah.
so I never had an intention because that trip costs a lot of money, takes a lot of
Mm.
your time. You need to have a long leave. Like if where your situation is concerned, there's no positive. Like you really need to plan it out, take your time off.
Mm.
There's a lot of stamina that you need to build up. It's not like if you say, I go to the gym every day. I like to exercise. I like to keep fit. Those things doesn't work. It's a different kind of routine that you need to maintain. I mean, you need to have big lungs, so that you could go oxygen
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yes.
There's lifestyle. So that
Yeah.
trip, I have seen like the tallest and the fittest, like they look ripped. Those guys falling flat, like so sick that they had to be airlifted and evacuated. And me and my
Yeah.
friend living the most normal life back in Dubai.
Back in Dubai,
Yeah.
out of all the places, yeah, at the sea level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you imagine? My friends like, oh my God, don't look at them because I'll start feeling sick now. Like, it is a lot psychological as well. like such fit people are
Yeah.
going down, then is it like, am I really feeling sick, or am I really fit? Like, what's happening to me?
Mm.
It's very confusing as well. I mean, also you tend to have a bit of temper issues. It's all because of the oxygen fluctuation.
The oxygen
So some
levels,
days
yeah.
you're like,
It's like you never know how your body, like what you said, you might be very fit at sea level,
yeah,
but you don't know how your body is going to react when you put at that altitude. Nobody knows. It's your physiology and it's
yeah,
your percentage oxygen levels in your blood and stuff like that. So,
yeah. So yeah, coming back to the documentary. So obviously, I mean, I never thought, but when I went to Emirates, I could see a lot of people. I mean, like, people over there basically come from different walks of life. Like, by walks of life, I mean, from different backgrounds. By that I not only mean like the cultural differences that we have, which is amazing, but also like different educational backgrounds as well. Like, I have seen my colleagues who are actually by degree, let's say paramedics or engineers, or somebody is a painter, somebody's been a like huge theater artist in France, or someone's been a top actress in South
okay.
Africa, and then someone's gone for Miss Universe this year, and then army background. Then this colleague of mine, he's Serbian. He was in Special Forces Serbia. Like, can you imagine? He was posted in Afghanistan, and then that got him into
Whoa.
depression. And a long story short, he took his early
Mm.
retirement, and fast forward, he thought, I want to live like a normal life, and he joined Emirates, and then ever since he's been happy. So that's good. So it's like you see variety, like literally human variety, let's just say. And
Yeah.
there's so much to learn, like from humans. It's magical, like it's just amazing. I mean, if you want to take the positives, there's endless positive that you can take from these people. Where my colleagues are concerned, I can only and only speak highly of them. um some of the best mates I've made and gonna stay with me, I think, for a lifetime now. And yeah, so because I met all these people, I used to see, like, simple boys and girls planning a base camp trip, and then just backpacking and going and all that. I'm like, this is so cool. I only used to watch documentaries. Okay, so I never had this of going to Mount Everest, but I can always go to base camp and still feel very good about it. And then I met my very, very good friend Bidia very randomly. I did not know her. She did not know me, and we were rostered for a Hong Kong flight. And then we just happened to, like, out of conversation, we said, I want to do this. And she said, oh my God, I'm looking for a buddy. I want to do this as well. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and then we actually made an effort to keep in touch. We met for drinks and dinners and coffees and all of that, or like normal, runs and stuff. And then it just happened. And Dubai had announced a runway closure, so we got a lot of leaves, and I had a huge amount of leave balance from the previous year. So everything just worked out, and then we were like, let's go. And I'm so glad that I went with her, because she probably is the best fit for the trip for me. So she was, I mean, and
Yeah.
yeah, we struggled our way. There would be mornings when we would just like aimlessly look at our tasteless breakfast, and because when you're that high, even if it is tasteful, you're like, you're just not in a mood for breakfast, but you need to gulp that down because you need to carry
Yeah.
on the whole day. And it was a challenge to kind of to see like how far you can survive without your fancy gadgets, your regular comfort
Yeah.
levels. And you know the more you go up, the villages that you cross, it kind of starts to freeze, and life gets so difficult for those people. I mean, I'm only surprised that they actually stay and live normally in such tough conditions. And also your living condition with that is also gets impacted, because when temperatures are so bad and so low, they don't change your sheets, they don't change your pillowcases, your
Yeah.
blankets are as filthy as possible. I used to take my down, cover my face, and then sleep so that, I was like, you should not contract anything.
Mm.
Or like you go to the toilet, as ladies, we need a covered place to do our thing, right? Like we can't just go walk into the mountain and you go to the toilet because of the temperatures, all possible human excreta is freeze there, and it's just a horrible, horrible experience, all that. But but now when you look back and you think about it, it was all worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which season did you do? Did you do the April season,
um
April, May, or
May.
the winter?
Yeah.
May.
April, May. May, let's just say May, because we started end of April. Oh, no, May, not
Yeah.
April.
All right. May. And it's just for my personal curiosity. In the base camp, how long are you able to hang around? Because there are actual mountaineers in the base camp. Or you
Exactly.
just touch base camp and you turn around and come back.
You can stay for a bit. Like we had this another so basically, obviously you have camps, because this was like the Everest season where the
Yes.
Everest climbers are all there with their teams and
Yeah.
stuff. So we had a camp from all possible countries and Nat Geo, Discovery, blah blah, travel and living.
Yeah.
So we could see the flag of India, like, a bit interior towards the Khumbu Glacier. But then it's like,
Yeah.
even to walk 10 steps is so difficult because it's not a clear way and there's like huge boulders. And we were like, the level of oxygen that day, even on the pulse oximeter for both of us, had shown very low. And we could slowly feel it. The guide was scared for us because it's like, your oximeters are showing really low. So we go, you click photos, you look around, and you come back, no spending time. But then it just so happened, like, we had another group of boys from the north of India, like Delhi or Haryana, can't remember. They looked really fit, very, like, we met them midway, and then we happened to go there and again bump into them and stuff, and they had somebody known in the Indian camp, so they had invited us. Something played foul, and we were like, no, I think we need to go back. You get hunches, and we also were starting to feel a little low, and we knew that we have a long way to go back to the last village. It was getting dark as
Yeah.
well and extremely cold. And so we said no. And then thankfully we did that, because we spent around half an hour, 45 minutes there. And that's a lot. I think we spent half an hour to 40 minutes somewhere. Those guys did have a longer session there. And those guys came back and they were all sick, like majorly sick. They couldn't even get. Yeah. So the thing is, you don't know when it hits you. So you just have to be very time framed in your head, because like, the onset is not gradual. Everything that happens to you comes pretty suddenly, is how I felt.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to go on and on. We might
know.
just have a couple of minutes with us. Yeah, this time just flew by.
But it was so good. Like, I've never had a Instagram live session, and I really,
Your exam is
I'm
finally
really
over.
looking forward to follow Daydream's podcast, because it's I think it'll be really nice to listen to people from all different walks of life and their experience and their journey and growth. And I've always been very, very interested in knowing what others are doing in a different field, because that's the only way you learn. I mean, books are always there, internet is always there, but a first-hand human experience from their words is, I think, a different story altogether.
Yeah, I've always been very high on making friends and learning from people.
Yeah.
Definitely. So cool chatting up with you.
I know.
I think do you see a counter on top of your screen?
Sorry, what?
It says 14. No, it's just 14 seconds and counting down.
Okay.
So, yeah, time to fasten the seat belts and say adieu.